Manchester United won, Chelsea won at Old Trafford. Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game as interim head coach of Manchester United ends in a draw. How are we all feeling about that? Well, I kind of spoke about it quite extensively with KG on the match view there. It's a bit of, you have to almost divide it up into bits, don't you? I think, look, if you'd have said before the game, your draw against Chelsea, you'd go, well, given how some of our other home games against top 6 sides, if you have gone this season, I'll take it. I'll take a draw. And in reflection, considering where we are, I'll probably still take a draw. And I think Ruud van Nistelrooy will probably take a draw, considering he's just there to steady the ship. But after watching the game, you go, Chelsea aren't great. We kept their best players pretty quiet. If there was, attacking players or that could add that amount of composure, it'd have probably won that game. So that's the disappointing part of it. You look at defensively, I think we did pretty well, actually, because, again, we kept those Chelsea's best players quiet. Look at Mazraoui is probably our player of the match. De Ligt, I think, did well. Again, Casemiro and Ugarte, technically what you're going to get from them, but you do get effort, work rate, and they both got yellow cards having to do cynical fouls because what was in front of them was just, again, it's so impotent. Like impotent, no composure. Whether it's Garnacho, who really, 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 his decision-making has been criticised in the last few weeks, and that's fair. Today it was like that as well. Bruno Fernandes, it's peak Bruno. Yes, he did score today. His first Premier League goal since April, I think I just saw then. But it's from the penalty spot and a couple of flicks. Apart from that, largely all he did was give the ball away. Rashford's pretty non-existent. Rasmus Højlund wins a penalty, but he was more focused on wrestling once again than playing the ball. Joshua Zirkzee came on, didn't do that much. We know his limitations. Ahmad came on for 17 minutes, couldn't really get involved that much. So Ruben Amorim, when he comes in, I don't think he's going to have much of a trouble, actually, with the defensive side of things, because we still, as of after this match, we've conceded one more goal than City or Arsenal. Defensively, we're actually okay, but the attack is just so impotent. And frankly, had we not got a penalty today, we were not scoring. Like, we were not scoring if we didn't have a penalty today, because you just have no faith. It's not even like, oh, Owen, you never know. We were not. We were not scoring. So again, it's a bit of both, isn't it? But this is the full-time view. Members can call in and have their say. If you do wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. Or you can click the join button and you can get perks such as to call in to this show. You get the back catalogue of UV Raw. I think there's still loads of episodes to come, actually, of that. So you get that. You also get your badges. You get your emojis that you can use in the chat. I'm sure someone at the moment in the chat will show all of these emojis in the chat that you get too. What are people saying here before we get to the calls very quickly? Trinity Red Devil says, try different subs. Wheatley, Amas, Fletcher to give someone else a try instead of the Palmtree, Xerxes, Lindelof, and Ahmad. Rashid says, well, at least we made Palmer look mid. He didn't have / make any influence for Chelsea in this game. That's why I said I think you've got to kind of cut it into bits. Lucas says, flex Cookmar. That would be the thing I would say to Chelsea fans is for someone. He had a lot of chest, didn't he? A lot of chest coming into the game about how Chelsea were going to beat us 4-1 and this, that, and the other. And if you were a Chelsea fan, not that I give two shits, but if you were Chelsea, I think Enzo Maresca just looked like he was just scowling on the touchline because he's like, actually, Man United aren't great, and Chelsea went down to our level. But that's also why before the match, people were like, you're going to get smashed by Chelsea. I was like, I don't know about that, Like, they're better than they were last season, but they're still very, very weak, very fragile. And one of my frustrations is that we go 1-0 up and typical us can't really defend it at all and just revert back to type, don't we? Concede straight away. But I'll take a point. It's not getting hammered 3-0. That's where we are at the moment, isn't it? Let's go straight to the calls, shall we? Let's start off with Chalaboy Comics. What did you make of what you saw today? Did you manage to stay awake during it? I did my best.
It was honestly one of the worst games I've watched. It was so drab, and I think you summed it up perfectly. It was just impotent up top, and I think even before that, the ill discipline, especially in the first half, that I was seeing from our players was outrageous. Like Chelsea, to be honest, could have scored 2 or 3 goals in the first half because it just felt they were just as bad as us, like in the final third. But the amount of space we were giving these guys was like outrageous, and it all stemmed from Bruno's ill-disciplined pressing. He's just a live wire and doesn't play for his teammates in that regard. And then every time he gets sort of like nicked, he stays down, kills our momentum. And our players were so I was, tactics, schmactics, we can talk about that all along, but I was just disappointed with the mentality that a lot of our players showed today. Not everyone, because like you mentioned, Mazraoui was class today. And honestly, him and Casemiro at times were probably the only players that you could say were put a Manchester United level performance in. I believe that Onana was holding on to the ball too much. When we saw Bayern versus Leicester, it just sort of like made me realize how much Onana delays the game, and it's just like just pass the ball, and Casemiro even had a go at him for that. So it was the mentality was just not there. Garnacho was so busy complaining about stuff instead of just getting your head up and going back into the game. We'll attack, and then when it doesn't go our way, we wouldn't rush back to close the space and come back into team shape. We'd just be complaining at the top, and we'll have like 5 players up top and just have an empty midfield. And Casemiro and Gautier were doing the Lord's work when it came to ball recovery. So it was just disappointing from a mentality standpoint, and not much to write home about. Garnacho needs to be beaten up in training, I think, by the old heads. Just like fix him up and just be like, listen,
Casemiro
dude.
was furious with him at
Yeah,
one point, wasn't he, when he
rightly
was booked?
so. Rightly so, because that was a potential go-ahead goal. If he had just slipped in Mazraoui, a square ball across, Joster Xerxes can't even miss that one. It would have been 2-1. We're going away with the win. And then the final thing I want to also criticize is Bruno Fernandes's final ball, his set piece taken. He doesn't have to do everything. Bruno, you don't have to do everything. Ericsson's a better set piece taker than you. Ahmad's a better set piece taker than you. Luke Shaw's a better set piece taker than you. He barely cleared the first man on all his corners. And then just like against West Ham, where he had the final chance to deliver a good ball into the box where he skied it, he doesn't clear the first man and the chance is gone. So that's just not good enough from our players. And they're just largely disappointed and exhausted.
How much of a challenge do you think Amorim's going to have? I mean, from an attacking point of view, because again, today you look at it, you go defensively, actually not too bad. If anything,
Right.
midfielders had to be working overdrive to try
Right.
and chase the ball down because we kept giving it away. But is actually Amorim this season anyway going to be sort of judged on what can you get out of those attacking players, because that's going to be a heck of a job.
To be honest, I actually think the transition between Ten Hag and Amorim won't be that large, only because at least we don't know how he's definitely going to play, but judging from what we've seen of him, he's the intent, the tactical intent between him and Ten Hag is sort of similar in the sense that we want to go direct as quickly as possible, and we sort of like build from the back to try go direct quickly into runners up top. I think the way we do it may be a little bit different. I won't pretend to know the intricacies of Amorim's system. I haven't watched him enough to tell you that. But in terms of the actual intent, I believe that we're largely trying to do the same thing. So I think from that standpoint, he's going to find it pretty. He's going to have profiles to be able to do what he wants to do with the team. And I actually think for the first time, I think I mentioned it last call, we finally have a manager that's in sync with our board, that's in sync with a lot of our players. He has like players he's worked with before. He has players that are Portuguese. He has players that could press. And I feel that Ineos will do everything in their power for this to work. I think we finally got our guy, because they sacked a manager that had won 2 trophies, albeit was 14th in the middle of the season. They're not going to make another bad decision and sack this guy. So I believe for the first time, if players are acting up, Ruben Amorim will have the power to be like, hey, they're not in my plans, and Ineos is going to back them up. So I think that level of accountability for the first time, and we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, will give him a good platform. I still think we're better than what we're doing in terms of ability, but it's going to take some work. I'm pretty positive. I'm usually positive, but I just think he's a clear communicator. He's charismatic, and he'll energize our players to do quite well. So I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, and I don't know if we're about to wrap up, but I just wanted to just say shout out to Minna for her Saturday social appearance. That
Yes.
was phenomenal work from her. And I didn't get to thank Ten Hag publicly, but thank you for 2 trophies, and wish you the best in your future. But I think onwards and upwards from here, because we have a good squad. We just need better mentality, and I'm hopeful that Amarim will be able to provide that.
And just very quickly,
Yeah.
what do you make of Rasmus Højlund today? Because he does win the penalty. The argument can be made actually a bit of a poor touch leads to him winning the penalty.
Yeah.
Actually, the goalkeeper doesn't need to come out how he does. What is this thing with him when he starts resting players? Do you think he does that out of frustration, boredom? I don't like.
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
So maybe it's like some players need an edge. I know when I'm playing soccer, I tend to sort of like create a villain, from the other team, and I'm like, oh, you want to come against me? You think I'm not good enough? Wait till you see. So maybe he does that to get himself like riled up. But I think his issue isn't necessarily just wrestling per se. It's wrestling for too long. There were certain moments where he's got the body position, but then he keeps wrestling. And you're like, dude, just release it. It's there to be released, right? And I think it's something that he had been improving on, from his own admission, but he just reverts back to type. So I think it's just a matter of better coaching. Because I don't think Van Nistelrooy was too much of a back to goal striker. Maybe I'm misremembering. I know he was skilled at it, but from what I remember, Van Nistelrooy, he wasn't necessarily that type of player. But I don't know. I just think he just needs to improve. I think in terms of finishing and in terms of him being able to run channels will be perfect for Amarim, but he doesn't necessarily need to be that guy to hold the ball too much. So I think it's just a matter of frustration, but he just needs to stop it. It's a very simple thing to solve, right? So just get into good position, hold your man, play the ball, release. And football's a simple game at times. So hopefully we'll see the best of him coming
Hopefully, indeed. Big up, Challerboy Comics. Appreciate you as always coming on. Long-time member, contributor to this show. How many likes are we currently at the moment? We're at 666 in terms of viewers at the moment. My goodness me, it's a bit ominous in this Halloween week, isn't it? If you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right-hand corner. Where should we go to next? Let's go to Scott. Show. What did you see any positives today? Did you manage to stay awake during that one? What are your thoughts?
We should have won the game, man. Like honestly, our attack. I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, how have we spent so much money and ended up with that selection of attackers at this club? Because in my opinion, it's the worst selection of attackers I've ever seen at a big club ever, considering the amount of money spent. And then when you think that, oh, who's injured that could come into the attack? Oh, it's Anthony and Mount, which makes it worse. That makes it, you know what I mean? So when you actually think about it, like I watched Garnacho today, one of the worst performances I've ever seen from an attacker, honestly. Like he was that bad. I don't think there's any positive that Garnacho did today. I mean, it's all good running with the ball, but some of his shooting, his the offsides, decision making in the final third. I don't think Højlund got the penalty. That was the only positive he did. But other than that, again, like you said, it just keeps wrestling with defenders, even though he keeps losing those battles. So it's like, why do you keep doing it? If you keep losing the battles, surely you think, let me run into the channels instead. Maybe get some space for myself. Rashford was probably the best of a worst three. I was surprised when he came off, to be honest. But
me too.
I don't know whether he was carrying a knock or something. But I thought, I'm not saying Rashford was amazing today, but it was definitely the best of the three. And when he came off, I thought I was a bit surprised. I can't believe Garnacho played full 90. But yeah, it's just one of the matches again where you look at our attack and you just go, how have we ended up with this attack? Following the process, the cycle, how we ended up with this. And now when you look at it, if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, we're gonna have to rip up this attack. I'm sorry, completely.
Yeah, well, and also as well, I think when you look at, two summer windows, we've bought, say, two strikers. We bought Højlund for a lot of money, bought Xerxes for less, but went into this summer window going, right, we need another striker. And we're probably going to go into next summer, probably saying the same thing, aren't we? Tell you what, we need another striker, or we definitely need more wide players, because you're right. Like, a big club would have a situation, say with like Garnacho at the moment, and be like, right, the last couple of games were really poor, we'll take him out. But now you go, okay, if he does come out, Ahmad comes on the right, Rashford goes on the left, and we kind of know still then what we're going to get, aren't we? Which is probably kind of the same, maybe. Not really a lot's going to happen. And that stat, they keep showing the stat where we're like, I think after day we might be like third lowest goal scorers in the league, and you go, I can see it. I can see it. I can see why, can't you? It's just there's nothing there. There's just nothing there at all.
No, it's like you said in your thumbnail, zero attacking threat. So I mean, it's just. I mean, for me, I've said this before in the comments, and I've been criticised for it. I said for me, I think Garnacho's ceiling is squad level for United. I just don't think he's as good as a lot of United fans make him out to be. I don't think he's this woke. I heard Flex call him before a world-class talent. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I think even he regrets that one. I think he got pushed into who was he was a combined 11, wasn't it?
It was with Tobes.
Yeah, it was not good.
And he's been cooked. I mean, I don't see where that comes from, because I just don't think he's that. And that doesn't mean to say he's going to be a horrific player. I just look at him now and I go, to be honest, we're being forced, like you said, into starting him because our options are horrible. And it's because, for example, we could have benched him if a signing like Anthony worked out, if Anthony was starting, right? But we have to play Garnacho week in, week out, because who else is there? So that's the issue we have. And it's I don't know. I look at the attack, I just think, Amram's got his work cut out. I mean, I don't know, maybe the 3-4-3 might get better out of our attack just because of different positions players take up, less maybe reliance on certain players or whatnot. But I don't know, man. I was watching it today. I was just thinking that shot Garnacho scuffed in the box, especially. I was like, the way it was cut back to him, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna. And then the way, like, it was harder to do that, what he did. That's the crazy thing, and I don't know. Looking at our attack,
you look at him, don't you? You go, like Garnacho, like I said, the scuffed one in the box in the second half. First half, he should do better with his one as well. You then look at Rashford. And some would say it's difficult, but I think he should do better in the first half when he hits the bar. You look at Bruno, he smashes one over the bar, doesn't he, when it through a volley? It's just like they're all at it. they're all at it where they've got no end product. And I don't know about you, but I was watching. I watched the highlights of Sporting's game on Friday where Gorka scored 4 goals, and I did watch it. I went, I don't know if some of these United players score some of those goals, like that, those kind of finishes, because
no chance.
It's bad.
No, absolutely no, absolutely no chance, Owen. Like, honestly, the quality of our forward play is probably some of the worst in the league. It's going to be bottom 5 probably. Like, I mean, I saw Forest put 3+ West Ham yesterday, and I was thinking, bloody hell, like, they play better than us. Like, and they've got like Chris Wood, 8 goals. That's more than all of our forwards combined, So I'm just like, it's crazy. And I just look at some of it. I think again, Xerxes' ceiling is very low. I'll be honest. I know people are gonna say he's not played a lot, but I wasn't hyped about that signing when we signed him. I look at him; the signing doesn't make sense to me of Xerxes. I know I'm not going to criticize him that much today because he came on, didn't play a lot. I'm just talking about his overall performance for United so far. I look at him and I go, in the summer we all talked about buying a striker that takes the pressure off our forwards. We did the opposite. We bought a striker that puts more pressure on our other forwards because he don't score himself. So that profile of signing makes zero sense to me. I just don't see it working out in this team, in this setup. I look at Hoyland and I go, his ceiling isn't that high either. Because I just think some of the things that with strikers it's like, it's one of them positions I feel like you either have it or you don't. And you hone in on those attributes. And I look at Hoyland and I go, does he have that many amazing attributes? And I go, nah, it doesn't. Garnacho, again.
You would say, like with strikers, particularly the good ones, you can identify easily. Go, what's their best attribute? Like, what's their thing? With Hoyland, I don't know. I actually don't know what
exactly.
What kind of striker is he? If I said to like the chat or whatever, what kind of striker? You go, well, back to goal. But then you go, but just kind of just wrestles. Actually, at one point in the game today, he was more focused on wrestling than the ball, and someone just literally nicked the ball past him because he was busy wrestling. I'm like, I don't know actually what kind of style of player is. Actually, his sort of release play to like actually pass to Garnacho or Rashford is really slow. Like actually way slower because he took like 2 or 3 more touches than you need
Yeah.
to a bunch of times. I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's never in the box. I've noticed like whenever there's a cutback, you go, "Where's Hoyland?" Because Garnacho's there or Bruno's there. Sometimes even Casemiro's there, but Hoyland's not there. So again, it's just it's. I'll be honest, the collection of attackers is a bit of a mess, and it's going to need a complete rethought by Ineos in the next summer.
Yeah, I agree. Big up, show. Appreciate you as always. We've got 800 people watching, which is fantastic. We're less than 200 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Chatterboy Comics says, in my opinion, Hoyland does have a high ceiling. He's a channel running striker and is a lethal finisher. I think Amorim will turn him into a beast. I think he'd have to make him way more disciplined, and also just stop this sort of, again, wrestling, backing in stuff. And a couple of things today was that he did a couple of times where you go and release the ball, man. 2 or 3 extra touches. And I suppose you could say, well, even if he had got it to Garnacho with how he was acting today, would it have led to anything? Don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of, I suppose, what Show's saying there. It's just you look at that attacking players and you do. And to be fair, Flex mentioned it before recently. He's going, where are the goals coming from? Like, I don't know where they're coming from. Yeah. And it's alarming. It's alarming indeed. Let's go to Uncle. I wonder if he has any war stories today or if they're put on hold at the moment. Uncle, what are your thoughts on what you saw today?
Oh, well, the war stories ended.
That's good.
Ten Hag. Hopefully.
Yes.
First of all, I want to vehemently disagree with people who say our players don't have high ceilings, because who determines the ceilings of a player? You know, if the player suddenly, exactly, I don't think there is any fixed ceiling. If the player suddenly starts playing fantastic, suddenly the ceiling changes. If the player starts playing poorly, suddenly the ceiling changes. You know, people look at the squad and they ask, "Oh, this is not a title-winning squad." And I ask the same thing. If you before Emery came in, you probably wouldn't have said that about Aston Villa. You look at Arsenal squad before they built to where they are now. Some of those players were there. They didn't look like that. You know, you couldn't have called them categorically a title contending side. So I think that is it's all down to the player's performance, which is my next point. I'm trying to understand honestly, like you said, I was struggling to stay awake in this match, you know, especially after the long weekend that we have had. You know, this is harvest period. You know, we are trying to harvest our things from the farm. So you come back after a long harvest, and Man United cannot even do the wastefulness. You know,
couldn't harvest goals, could they?
They couldn't have one if the way Man United are wasting chances is the way I was wasting my crops, I wouldn't make profits.
No.
I wouldn't have anything to sell.
Yes.
It was so wasteful, you know. And then we talk about Rasmus not releasing passes, but then we look at our wingers. Our wingers are not releasing passes. So you are asking, if everybody wants to do it alone, who is now going to facilitate for others? If everybody wants to do it alone, it's almost like the instruction was, once the ball leaves Bruno's feet or Casemiro's feet and goes into the front three, do whatever you want to do with the ball, because our wingers will call for the ball and call for the ball. Rasmus will leave the ball and be fighting defenders. I'm tired. I don't know what I don't understand again. And you know that the defenders don't mind because they just need to hold him off there.
Yeah.
You know, there were several times a couple of times players ran offside because he was holding on to the ball for too long. Just release your pass. It is simple. I shouted, I can't remember how many times I shouted during this game. Just release your pass.
Yeah.
The last chance that led to the corner kick that we had in the last minute of the game, the ball was passed to Garnacho. Somebody was on that inside. Garnacho, release your pass. Just release your pass. But no, they will hold on to the ball. They would want to beat all the 11 opposition players and put the ball in the back of the net themselves. What is so difficult in releasing passes?
That's
That is
why
the
Casemiro
biggest
was going
one of
crazy, wasn't it? Casemiro went crazy at
exactly.
Garnacho for that. Yeah.
Exactly. It is one of the biggest problems that we have as a team. Somebody is there open for you. Release the pass. Leave the difficult passes. Sometimes it is the simple passes. Do the simple things first, and then you can start looking for the difficult ones. But no, I don't. Well, I hope Amorim can do something. You know.
What do you think he can? Is there anything he can do with those attacking frailties, or is he going to be limited with the players that he's got? Or does that go back to your stuff you were talking about with the ceiling of the players?
You see, the problem is I don't know. Like I don't know what Van Nistelrooy is doing in training. We saw this during before Ten Hag left. You know, the players are missing chances, and then Van Nistelrooy has come in. The match we played during the week, we were lucky. You know, somehow things just went our way. And this match, Chelsea didn't even stand a chance if we converted all our chances. Garnacho had, I think, three clear-cut chances. You know, Bruno had his own chance where it was more difficult to miss than to score. Somehow, he managed to hit the ball wherever he hits the ball to. You know, and I am trying to understand, like, I don't know. Well, if Amorim can come in with his own style and maybe teach them how to shoot because they are the you know when Van Nistelrooy came in, we were praising him. Oh, he's an attacker. He has scored goals. He will teach these guys how to score goals. If Van
Yeah.
Nistelrooy is unable to teach them how to score goals, well, I hope Amorim. What we might need might be one or two changes or one or two additions. You know, during the transfer window, I know I mentioned I was one of the first people that told KG to we need to bring in Mbuemo before, uh, you know, and we mentioned Mbuemo several times, and people told us why are we looking at Mbuemo? Look at how many goals he has scored in the league, and look at
Yeah.
the struggle. You know, and like the first caller said, if you take out Ganacho, who is the option? Anthony.
No. Yeah.
You know, who is the option? Is it
Yeah.
Anthony? Is it Mason Mount that is hardly fit? You know, but I don't know. I will commend the defense and the midfield.
Yeah.
You know, to an extent, our midfielders, especially Casemiro and Ugarte, they are not necessarily the best passers of the ball, but in terms of shielding the defense, I think they've been doing well so far.
Yeah.
But
I would
that
agree.
attack. I don't know what to do for the attack. We have one attacker that can run, but will rather fight defenders. We have another attacker that cannot run to save his life. You know, he cannot run to save his life. He will be through on goal. The defender will catch up to him, and then somebody is telling me they want that person to play as number 10 in our midfield and do all the running around when he cannot run to catch a ball in front of him. It is well, Owen. The whatever miracle that we need, somehow we will get it. We just need to keep holding on.
Just need to keep holding on. See, that was that was a very good ending by Uncle there. I was waiting because usually when we get towards the end of the call, he'll say something crazy. But he was very. I think he's focused. Like I said, he's been harvesting all weekend. He's making sure, he's making sure the crop's good. The crop yield is high. Manchester United's crop yield of goals is very, very low. As he said, he would not be making any profit. And I think it was a very good call there by Uncle. A very good call. And I'm glad actually he brought up the Leicester game on Wednesday, because today was my exact point why people, I don't think, should go the whole route of, see, they're snakes. They're snakes. They can score. They're snakes. And you go, no, I don't think so. I think they just got quite lucky. They're not very good. They're better than 14th, which goes to show why you draw against Chelsea today, because a team in 14th at home, do they draw against Chelsea? No, probably not. But that's why the whole thing on Wednesday was, these teams are snakes. See, they can do it. You go, no, come on. Look at some of the goals we scored on Wednesday. We got Bruno kicking into people's heads, deflected in. We got bouncing off 2 posts. Casemiro puts one in. Dallo was offside. So that's why it's not as straightforward as that. It's not as easy as just say, oh no, they just weren't trying. Today, couldn't fault the effort. Some of the players, just some of them ain't good. That's why those Carabao Cup midweek games got to be so careful with them, because as was the case in Ten Hag, I say it is now, this is your bread and butter. This is what matters. This is where you get judged on. And this is why Eric Ten Hag lost his job, because in the league wasn't getting results. And Blue Dabba Dabba has been a member for 26 months. I tell you what as well, long time UV OG and Blue Dabba Dabba says, where are you Casemiro haters now? Man of the match, the last 2 matches, in my opinion. He was recovering from an injury and everyone said he was washed. He did very well today. And I do think that, when he was having a go at Garnacho, it's not his fault that he got booked, and he did a couple of Casemiro madness passes. He'll always do that, though. He always will. And I do think there is something in that discussion of, if he's in somewhere that exposes him, a system that exposes him, he's not going to look that great. And again, I felt for him and Ugarte at points today. I really did, because I felt they were trying to cover as much ground as they can. And it must be so infuriating, winning the ball back in good areas or making good tackles in some areas. And it just comes straight back, or you're trying to then chase people down. You're like, I can't do this. And especially him, he's the wrong side of 30. He's like, I can't keep chasing up and down. I've just given you the ball, man. Keep it or go score, do something. So he must be incredibly frustrated. Although if I had to give a player of the match from our team today, it would have probably been Mazraoui. I do think Mazraoui was excellent today. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Eminem. What did you make of what you saw today, and how much of a challenge has Ruben Amorim got ahead of him?
Hello, and I hope you're doing well, mate.
I'm all good.
Yeah, I think it was it was a odd game, to be honest. I thought we played still the Eric Ten Hag way. I think we're still in that moment because it's the same backroom staff. There's not much of a massive change except that the manager is gone, and I think Rude is probably just giving them a bit more motivation. It's still the same old, like Rashford doesn't finish the full 90. He goes on the right wing. Same thing that's been happening when Eric Ten Hag was here for the past 5-6 games as well. But overall, I just felt like, well, I didn't think that we would win, but I had a feeling that Bruno would score, because all of a sudden after Eric Ten Hag's left, it seems like he's just started to score now. He just scored against Leicester and he scored today.
Is that reflective of his performance, though, do you think? Or is that just because, again, some of the goals he scored against Leicester were very fortunate? There's a penalty. Like, does he still look like that Bruno is going to be scoring from open play, good goals? Or is he still kind of in that kind of indifferent form, just maybe a little bit of extra luck?
Oh, he did play trash today. Don't get me wrong. But I just felt he would score. But I think it's a situation with the whole team, right? Most of our team are not playing well. And they've not been playing well this season, including Bruno. And I think we just like the last 12 years with Man United, we've been inconsistent. So are the players now. And Bruno, the good form that he had with under Oli, and then the first season under Eric, I think that sort of just drifted along, and it has just become aligned with what Man United is at this time now. And I'm not too worried over this period where Rude is in charge. I think it's sort of, when that Freddie Ljungberg was in charge of Arsenal before Arteta came in. I think it's that situation rather than when Oli came in. When Oli came in, it was a new manager. Obviously, it was some of the few members were saying that Mike Phelan came in, but it was a new atmosphere created by him. here we've got the same atmosphere that's carried on, even though that Rude and Rene have only been here about 6 months. So I don't expect a huge change. What happened against Leicester was a lot of luck, and Leicester was their C team, like you've said yourself. Um, but what today is the reality of what we had with Eric Ten Hag, in my opinion. Um, and I just can't wait until Amarin comes in, because I know our front line is not firing at the moment. However, his the way Amarin likes to play, his front line especially, they have a lot of freedom in terms of um, it's not like the number 9 is just stuck in the middle. The number 9 can drift out and then put a cross in, and he's encouraged to do that. But the number 9 could also work with the two inside 10s to sort of just pick up work as a collective, right? Well, whereas right now we're looking to get service into Hoyland, but I think we need to like work where to give Hoyland more space and let Hoyland drift out and just try to take those chances to help the team, and then the team will help him.
What do you
But yeah,
make of Hoyland? Do you think Amarim can get more out of him? You know, considering he is still young, because we saw again we've seen once again those sort of things we saw last season with him, with the wrestling or taking too many touches. Do you think Amarim can get that out of his game?
I think he can. Yeah, I definitely think he can. I in general, with our front three, I think in terms of the attack, the coaching has been bad over the last few years. One thing I've said, especially for Garnacho, because Garnacho had a really bad game today. When Cavani came in under Oli, there was a game against I think it was against Liverpool away, where Rashford just drifted the ball away and Cavani was angry because he didn't pass and he looked towards the bench. The next game after that, Oli probably what we were seeing, what Oli drilled into the wide players was to put the ball in, to start passing into Cavani, so passing inwards. I think that's the sort of management that we need. I know Ollie's he's not. I mean, he's not managing at the moment, but that's the sort of instructions that we need from the coaching staff, and I think Amarin would provide that. And then he would also work with Rasmus in terms of his general play. I mean, there's so many times that he took the ball where he could have just passed. He was holding the ball up, but he could have just passed to Casemiro, or he could have passed to Ugarte and then made a run. Instead, he just wanted to take the ball and run himself. And I think that's just a symptom of the situation our attack is in at the moment, because Garnacho is not looking up when he's passing. I think Rashford is, but Rashford's not getting the ball that many times, and he's always on the right. So I think it's just a symptom of what the team is at the moment. I think when Amran comes in, I think he will develop. He's got a lot. He's still very raw. I mean, he's only 21. Um, I think Xerxes the bigger issue for me. I like Xerxes. I like what he brings, but I don't see how he fits in with the Amarin system. Maybe hopefully we could find a space, but I think that's a bigger question mark for me.
And just finally on the Rashford stuff, because I think I've seen you in the comments talking about Rashford being on the right and you not liking that. Well, why do you think we saw him get taken off again today, when maybe he could have been shifted out to the left and Garnacho come off? Why do you think he is, I can say out of favour, but why do you think he's being shifted onto the right in favour of Garnacho on the left at the moment?
I have no idea, man. It pisses me off, because actually Rashford is actually my. Bruno's my favorite player, but Rashford I've backed for a long time. I was there in Old Trafford when he debuted against Arsenal in the Prem and scored that goal. So I've always backed him, and the reason I think he's going towards the right is, I think because he's a more senior player. The expectation is him to create and score from there. But if the ball's not going towards the right, he won't be able to do that. What I think should happen is, like, he should be further to the left, and Garnacho should sit in right, where he can actually play for the team rather than just for himself. And I don't know why he's being subbed off. I think this is just what Eric Ten Hag was doing in the past 4 or 5 games, and Rude has continued that, because I think Rude is still working through the Eric Ten Hag playbook that they had together. I have no idea. There's nothing I could say, because it doesn't seem like he's frustrated that he's being taken off. He's just coming off, and I think that at the moment, I don't know. From my perspective, Garnacho should not be playing on the left at the moment. He's scoring goals, but I think he's the best as an impact player, especially for his development as well. because you don't want him to get too big-headed and just assume that role is his now. That's happened with some players. I don't want that to happen with him. I think he should be playing on the right where he has the option and the opportunities to put crosses in, as well as on the counter he can actually get forward. But we need to have a more balanced front three when we start games, and for me that is Rashford, Højlund, and Ahmad. I know if it's not completely worked yet, but on paper they're the most balanced front three that we could have at the moment. Well, you could change Rashford for Garnacho, but Rashford's a more senior player and he's much better. But those are the three that, if we start with them and we get them into a rhythm, we could have a good front three to work with.
Hopefully so. Hopefully we can score goals in the future. You never know. Big up Eminem. Appreciate you, long-time member as well. Always see him in the chats. Always see him in the comments, getting involved, and always on this show too. Let's get some final comments from people in the chat, and then we shall wrap things up. Super Arch, one of the members says, Garnacho has had way more chances than anyone. He should have way more, but he isn't that guy yet. What else are people saying here in the moment? Chris P. Bacon says, we actually missed Eriksen. We did miss some composure today. Absolutely, we did. Skiliano says Højlund doesn't have the technical ability to develop into the level of the level we need from a striker. That is a position that really does concern me a little bit at the moment. I'm not going to like that. Just that centre forward spot, because I just don't know where the goals are coming from. And so far, it's not the best sample size to know, but you just get the impression that maybe Højlund scores goals in batches and sort of bunches. And today was really frustrating for me watching him. Just when he it gets like 50 minutes into the game and he just starts backing in, wrestling. I said Garnacho really wasteful off the left. I would have liked to have seen Rashford off the left just to see if he was getting those opportunities, would he be any different? Who knows? We've seen Rashford be off the left and be equally as wasteful in the past. It just feels like our options there are just so limited. And yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest struggle, I think, honestly, for Amorim. I think when he comes in, defensively, I don't suspect it would be too much of an adaptation process, honestly, and I think we'll be okay there. But it's just, and it's not even necessarily again like chance creation. You can't say today like, oh man, we didn't create any chances. We created some good moments, but the final pass either isn't there or the finishing just isn't there either. So yeah, there's work to be done certainly. But as I said earlier on, as far as if you said before the game, I'll give you a draw, I go, all right, fair enough, considering where we are. But then watching the game, you go, actually, could have won that. So there you go, guys. Appreciate everyone that's called in today, all the members that have called in for the full-time view. If you're watching this after the fact and you say, hey, next time I want to call in, just become a member. You can do so. Links in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. Or you can click the join button as well. What's coming up? Well, we'll be getting fan views from outside Old Trafford from Flex and Manchester United fans, as well as player ratings. In addition to that, of course, tomorrow, Flex and myself will be live with the morning view, 9 a.m. We'll also be live for the red carpet, 7 p.m., all times GMT, of course. And we'll be live with Flex, KG, myself, Alice, Saeed, and Adam to go through what we saw today. And next week's the final week, is it? Before the international break? It is, isn't it? Bloody hell. These international breaks, they go quick. These bunch of games go quick. I remember we're going before going into the Brentford one, we're like, we've got all these games coming up. And then it's a week and we're going to have, what's that, another 2 weeks off? Something like that. Bloody hell. I'm sick of these international breaks, I'm telling you. Anyway, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. I will be anyway, with lots more Manchester United stuff. I'm out of here. Peace.